Hi everyone, this is a design team project for Whichcraft Do You Do. Any relevant links will be below, including links to Whichcraft Do You Do's shop, the digitals I am using for this project, and also for the other design team members. I hope you enjoy this video. So I have in front of me some of the file folders from the File Keeping Collection Digital. Now, this project was heavily inspired by Renee. I watched her video on how to use this set and how to use the pieces in it. So I'll link that down below. It's definitely well worth a look. Definitely inspired me to make what I'm making today. So I am doing a quick little journal, notebook journal type thing. It's going to be quite basic. So what I've done is printed out 3 file folders, one with the tab in each of the different positions. And I also printed one of the different coloured pages on the inside so that it wasn't pure white. It's a lighter page, but it still just gives that a little bit of colour as well. So these are going to be the start pages to 3 signatures to my little book. So they will go together like so. So all I've done with them is fussy cut them. I scored down on the middle line there and just folded them. And that's it. And I don't think I'll ever bother inking. Like, you'll be able to see the white edges and that, but I want to keep it so simple. And I think once you start inking something, you feel like you've got to ink everything. Next are the pages. So I have put together 3 signatures here, one for each of my file folders. And what I have used is some of the vintage pages that I have around here, ledgers and that sort of thing. And I've also used the pages that I showed. Now, I'll also link down below the video I did at the start of the month where I showed you pages that I had printed out that I was going to use this month. If you want to have a look at the bits and pieces before I cut them out. So I'll show you one of the signatures. It's a vintage page that I have here. Now, this is one of the printables from File Keeping Kit as well. So yeah, lovely lined pages, and they're landscape format, which is so handy for journal pages. So what I've done is just folded them to use them as pages in here as well. And I've done a few of the different sort of hues of the vintage tones of those to put in here and intermingled them. Is that a word? Intermingled? And put them together with my other pages, and they just give really nice clean writing spots. And even though my pages are vintage and these have a vintage tone, they still are quite clean and white, and hence why I don't think that we need a lot of inking in this. I actually like the nice cleanliness of the papers. So just a whole lot of beautiful writing pages, really. It's a middle page at the moment, and this is also one of the printables. You get beautiful clear pages like this as well, and these are the type of pages you can use to back your writing pages, which I have done. I've backed these lined ones with the clear pages as well, so that they're not pure white, and they've come up really nicely. So they make gorgeous journal pages. This might be it for pages, and then I'll just add some little bits and pieces. I don't want to add a lot of embellishments or tags in that, but I probably will add a fair few little paper pieces, is my plan. So what we're going to be doing is putting these in like this. Now, the other issue that I have is the corners are rounded on the file folders, so I think I'll be needing to go through my papers and round the corners of my papers. So I'll do that in a minute off camera. And I've just possibly got to shorten some of the pages that are sticking out as well. And then I have a box full of covers when I'm going through books that I grab out of the recycling, and they've only got 1 or 2 pages, or sometimes no pages that I want to keep, but I like the covers. I keep the covers in a box here, And I was thinking, oh, I've got like too many covers. I shouldn't keep them all. But I tell you what, it's so handy sometimes because I go through them and there's usually the perfect cover. So I found this, Life Promises. It's Life Outreach International. I'll probably cover over that, but I just love this cover for what I want to do. It's a beautiful leather look cover. And it fits quite nicely. It's a little tall, but width-wise it's perfect, and it even protects the tabs quite nicely. So usually I do hidden spines, but I think with this one we might sew it through the spine just so we, because if we put a hidden spine in there, it's probably going to make the tabs poke out a bit and then they'll get damaged. So, but doesn't that fit gorgeous? And I think we might even put it down a little bit, and I don't mind having the extra height up here because if we put some paper clips up here, that'll just protect them as well so they're not sticking out the top. What I have done is printed out, it was a page of just one of the coloured plain pages, and I want to stick that to, this is just some old manila folder, so I'm just going to stick that onto that. And you can see I've got my big shot here, so I'm going to be doing some die cutting. So put that in my big shot. Now what I have got is 2 dies here. Now they're mismatched dies from different sets. I wanted to create a frame that was a sort of roundabout size to fit these pictures that I'd found into. I didn't have a set that had 2 squares or anything that was sort of the right size. This one was a good size, so I just had to find another one that was bigger to go around it to create a frame, and I found this. And it sort of works out to be a little bit like a cabinet card size or whatever, so I thought this would do. And I've just washi taped them together so that I could get the same size frame and everything sort of as even as possible when I did my cut. So I'll put that down. Put my top plate on. And run that through. It's probably still a bit wet. And then you just got to be careful taking it out because the washi tape does stick to it a little bit. And so there we've got our frame. And then I'll salvage this piece to use for a journal card or something in the future. These 3 pictures of these dapper dudes that I grabbed out of an old magazine. They're almost antique, very close to being antique. Aren't they cool though? Love the moustache. Very serious looking men. I thought that'd be really cool for what I'm doing. I've got 3 frames. I just realised though, the one I just cut out was a different coloured page. I don't know if you can quite see it, but it's a bit lighter, but that doesn't matter. A rough bit there too. All right, so we are going to frame our pictures. Now it is very hard for me not to want to ink every little bit, but I'm keeping it clean and not going to. So now I might stick my frame to my pictures. You could stick the picture onto the cover and then stick the frame on, but I think I'll do it this way. So I might just put a tad of glue just around the edge of the frame. And then try and line it up where we want. That doesn't look too bad. Stick it down and get glue all over the mat that I just cleaned. Don't know why I clean anything. That will work. So I've got my men in their little frames, and I've cut out some of these labels from the File Collection Set 3. So that is this one that has all these awesome labels. I was thinking of doing one of the frames, but I would have had to downsize it and I couldn't quite get the size I wanted. But in looking at these, they're just the perfect size as they are to stick on the bottom here. So I think this would look the best anyway. So that's what I'm going to do with those. And I tell you what, the more I look at this kit, the more fun it seems. I could just craft with that for the rest of my life and be quite happy. But I must get on with this and keep this a quick project because I've got a lot to do. So I can always do more in the future, I keep telling myself, and I certainly will with this kit because a lot of potential here. Okay, so I'm going to stick these little labels on the bottom. They all look like signatures of these gentlemen. Now I have also gone along and selected some labels for my tabs here from the same kit, which has all of these awesome little labels. Just so cool. I did cut a few out to try, but I think I settled on these ones, which are notes, correspondence and receipts. So I'll just put these to the side. And so we're going to do notes, correspondence and receipts like that. So I'll stick those down next. So quick and easy. I mean, this project you could easily finish in a day. Not me though, because I take forever to do anything, but you could. I mean, for this project too, you don't really need anything fancy. Just grab the kit, grab a few pages to put in, a few old book pages or whatever. If you don't have a little cover like the one I found, you can just grab your cereal box or whatever, scrapbook paper. Just use one of the file folders. Make yourself a little notebook and just fill it up with all the labels. It would be so much fun just full on embellishing it with all the labels and that you get in the kit and all the papers and heaps of fun. Okay, so that's the tabs done. Next we'll put our gentleman on the covers. So which one do we want up front? I think maybe him or him. He looks like the boss man. Sort of he does, doesn't he? But I do like him, so I'll put him. And then he can be correspondence, and he looks like the receipts type of guy. So we'll stick them down now. Trying really hard not to go and put some black stitching around that, but no. Okay, that looks good. So I'll just do the other two covers. I have measured the spine of my journal So what I did was put the folder in there. The folder measured, was about 18 centimetres and 18.8 centimetres, something like that. So I measured that and did a mark up here so I knew how long it was, where I wanted it to sit. I want it to sit leaving a bit of a gap up the top there, since the cover's so long. And that way I knew where I wanted to put my spine marks. So I decided to do 3-hole pamphlet stitch because the signatures are quite light. So the space where I wanted to measure turned out that the spine equaled about 12 millimetres. The halfway was 6 millimetres, so I did a line at the 6 millimetre mark going down there. And then I did another line either side of that, 4 millimetres either side. So one down there, one down there. And that leaves me with 2 millimetres either side of each line for the pages to expand on either side of each signature, middle. So yeah, for the middle signature, there's 2 millimetres that way and 2 millimetres that way for these pages, which isn't a lot, but it should just work. That's why I've kept the signatures quite small. So they should fit in there just nicely. And the next thing I want to do is, and then I measured halfway of the length of my file folders, which if it was 18.8, that would be 9.4 centimetres. And that's that line there, so that's where I have to punch my 3 holes for the middle of each 3 signatures. And then I measured 2.5 centimetres in from that side and 2.5 centimetres in from where the top of my file folder would sit there for the holes on the top and the bottom. So what I want to do is punch the holes before I put some fabric in here. I just thought that would be easier, and then I'll put fabric in and then I'll punch the holes again through the fabric. It's just the way I decided to do it. Don't ask me why, but I just thought that would work for me. So I'm hoping that they will look semi-even. The other way I could have done it was punched and measured and punched through this way, but I do want to do that, so I'm doing this. We'll see how it goes. I usually do hidden spines, so I'm not quite used to sewing spines directly through the covers, but we will give it a go. So I will poke my holes here. I'll do the centre first. So I'm keeping them quite small, I think. And then I'll do down this line here. Just check. That looks all right. I'll go back through this way. But then we'll be able to see where we have to punch through the fabric. They look even enough for my liking. I like that. It says rejection hotline. Maybe I should call it. Oh, I found this. How long is it? Oh, that's long enough. That looks perfect, I think. That was an easy find. So I think we'll make it about, like, it's hard to know if it's straight or not. About like that. Don't have to make it that wide because it's not a hidden spine. I could make it a bit thinner if I wanted. chop it off at about there. So now I've got to glue this down. So I'll just use my fabric glue for this. Okay, so that's the spine reinforced now, so I'll grab my box back that I shouldn't have put away, and we'll just go through our holes again. Now we can see them through there quite nicely, so when it comes to sewing in my file folders, it should be a lot easier. So don't mind this big book here, it's my cradle for punching the holes in my signatures. I do have a cradle from Whichcraft Do You Do. I must put it together one day. Yeah, I must do that. And then I can stop having to lift this stupid thing up here every time I want to do this. Anyway, so the holes I punched in my spine, I use those to measure where I want to punch the holes into my signatures, and I do that by grabbing a piece of paper that's basically the same length as my book cover, and I fold it over in half like that, roughly, and I line that up against my holes. So I've lined it up against the middle set of holes. I put a T on the top, so I know that that's the top. And then I just put a pencil mark where each one of the holes is, the 3 holes. And then if I straighten that out, you can see I've got the set of 3 holes there, and that's how I know where to punch the holes in my signature. And then I fold it back over the other way. Just make sure I've got my papers where I want them first. And line that up where we want it in our journal. Find the middle page and put this in. That's about right. Then I'll use my clips just to clip the piece of paper in there. Grab my awl and then punch the holes. And they're looking perfect. Now we take our piece of paper out before I forget and sew it in, which I have done many a time. So I've got my thread here, which is just, I'm just using a crochet thread which I've doubled over. And I think I'll have my threads on the inside. So we'll go in the middle. To the top. that fall and we'll lose our tail. And down to the bottom. And this is in the set of holes that is the closest to me, so up the top here, since it's the first signature. And then we go back through the middle, trying not to catch the threads that are already there. Put one of these ends has to go under on one side and the other end has to go under on the other side. I'll take my clips off and we can tighten. Just make sure there's no knots or bits of string hanging out here anywhere. So that's looking pretty good. Just tighten a bit again. It's looking good. Then we can tie a double knot just to hold it. Doesn't feel as tight to me as it should, although I can't see anywhere where it's stuck or anything, but I'm just gonna double check. Yeah, it's looking in there pretty tight. That's taut. Then you can just cut your thread down however long you want it. That'll do. And that's our first signature in, and that looks really good. Yep. So I've just got to repeat the process now with the other two signatures here. So I will go off and do that. So I finished sewing all of the signatures in, and I went ahead and just finished the journal. I wanted to get it all done in the one video for you guys. So I have tied it off just with some tea-dyed material here, and I put a label over the book title there and just back that onto some material as well. And you can see where I've sewed the 3 signatures in, so that came up quite neat, so I'm happy with that. And I stuck another label on the back to cover up a bit more writing that was on the cover there. So I love the way the cover's turned out. That's beautiful. So we'll crack into it. So on the inside I have put this vintage business card holder page. So that can flip open, so I can still use the inside cover there. And there's more pockets here that I can use for business cards and that sort of thing. And I've just put in some adverts out of my old magazine here and this little address book page for some names and addresses. Now, you might have noticed when I sewed this first signature in that I had a bit of an accident with my glue, always the way. Usually I would embellish over the top of that or redo the whole page, but I decided I'll probably keep this for myself because I love it. It's a bit of a prototype, so I'll probably make more like this because I really love it. It's very simple, easy to make, but just a wonderful writing journal. So now I've used this clip. I got that recently in a haul, a secondhand shop haul. It was one of these. I've never seen these before myself. I think I've seen the clips, but I've never seen these things. I was intrigued at how they work. I had to look up online how to fill it up and how to use it. Yeah, love it though. So I used one of them just to see what it did. So I must get some refills for it because I love it. Something different to use anyway. So you saw me put all the labels on the tabs here. Now, like I said, I have left a bit of space up the top here because the cover was quite larger than what we needed. Now, I could have centered the signatures more to make it look normal. But I left room up there because if I want to put sticky notes or something in there, then that protects the bits sticking up and makes them easy to find and that as well. So I quite like doing that if I have covers that are extra large. It enables you to have bits and pieces sticking up that won't get damaged, or a bookmark or something like that. So I love these pictures of these vintage men in my frames. So this holds on just a few bits of, I have collected so many pads and receipt papers and that from the secondhand store. So it's really great to use them up. So I've made just a scrappy little notepad here because this is my notes section. I can write a whole lot of notes there. And then we've got all of my pages. And of course, these are the lined pages and they came from set 2 of the file keeping collection. Some more ledger paper, and I folded the bottom of that up so that's got another one of my receipt pages in it that you can take out and journal on. Another lined piece which I have printed one of the blank pages on the back of. This folds out. It's typing book paper. So heaps and heaps of writing space or space to stick things. And then I cut out some of the adverts from my vintage magazine. So that's on the minty bookcases. So that was cool. So I've just stuck them on the centre blank page just for a bit of interest. Another invoice. And this one I have just stapled together, so really nice writing spots. Then this is another one of my vintage pages, and I've just paper clipped this piece here. It is a note that fell out of one of my books. It's Elizabeth printer note paper that someone's written a little note on. On the back they've got a recipe for Turkish coffee. So I've copied the recipe for a recipe journal, but I thought I would pin it in there because it is a note. So another little advert on the back there and one here. And then our second signature, which is correspondence. So fussy cut this little pen stand and the advert for it. And then we've got one of the envelopes that came from the correspondence collection set 2 that had letters and envelopes of all different colours, address labels and stamps in it. Yeah. So in that I have folded up one of the letters from the kit as well. So just for a bit more writing space. So that can be written on. Or it can be torn up and used to collage with. That just sits over the page like that. I love the envelopes. And then I just put a staple down the bottom of this ledger page to create another little tuck spot, which has a guest check to write on. So each signature is quite similar with the papers that are in there. And then I've just added a few bits and pieces. So message paper. Then we've got advert for the Royal Portable Typewriters. Another tuck spot here with another few of my receipt papers. Just adds a bit of interest and some little note papers that can be written on. And then I did some of Reenie's awesome paper clips. So I've got one of the big ones here. Now, there are a few changes that I'd make if I did, when I make one of these again. I need to get heavier duty cardstock. I did these on my photo mat, which is, I think, 125 GSM. And I think they could do with being done on heavier cardstock, and especially the paper clips could be done on heavier cardstock. So, and I don't have any here, so I had to do them on the photo mat. Don't know if I want to take this off because I don't want to ruin it. There we go. But these are awesome fun to make, and they look really cool on as well. So what I've put on under there are a whole lot of the receipts and some of my papers. And these receipts and that come from set 2 of the file keeping collection. So great for collaging. You could crunch them up and ink them up and make them look nice and vintage. And they come in all the different colours as well. But I just thought they make a really cool sort of scrappy notepad. And then I've put in some employee wage sheet, and I think that's travel expense paper. So just something to write on. And then another advert on some vintage pens. So that just sits under there. I stapled them together so it can be used like a notepad. But then our paper clip holds them on nicely. And I used some of the labels to decorate that. Another advert. Another dapper gentleman for my receipts signature. And a title from a book, Profits in the Pen. Thought that was fitting. Again, similar pages. I did print all the lined and blank pages out where just slightly different hues of the vintage tones. So here's another sort of flip book with all my different receipts. So I've got petty cash voucher, the diner receipt order sheets, I think. Another receipt. Then this is a receipt that I found in a receipt book that I got from a secondhand shop. Something about house documentation for $2,030, $1,230 from Mr. and Mrs. Spooner in 2011. So I thought I'd just stick that in there since it was a receipt. Just writing spot. Some more of my vintage pens and pen holder. Here's the other paper clip that I made. See if I can get this one on a bit easier. Yes. And I made another flip book with some more of the beautiful receipts. So lots and lots of writing space. These can be ripped off too, ripped off the staple and used individually. Slip that back on. Another receipt to write on. I just think this would be so much fun to write in and mess around with. Now, I did print out a pile of envelopes, and you're probably wondering what I was going to do with them if you saw the first video where I showed the kits that I was going to use. And they are in the back here. So I've just used one of the label pieces here and put an address out of my vintage magazine there, just for some embellishment, and cut out some more of the magazine here because we had, where someone had written in pen there, reject hotline. I'd never heard of that before, and I looked up about it. Yeah, I could have done with that when I was younger. It was a phone number for if blokes ask you for your phone number, you give them that phone number, and it's a pre-recorded message that tells them you're not interested. So, yeah, don't have to worry about it now. Okay, so these are the other envelopes that I used, and they came from the correspondence collection, as did this gorgeous stamp. There are a lot of stamps in the collection, so I'm going to cut them all out, and they're ready for me to use in here or in other journals. So what I did was made a envelope accordion to hold all my receipts in. So that stamp's there just for me to be able to close off my little accordion here. And so that opens up like that. And you can slip all sorts in there. So I have put a few bits and pieces in there. So I've put the smaller receipts that came from the kit in that pocket. In the next pocket I have this receipt that fell out of one of the books from Wisner in 1988 for something that I can't read for $40. Goes in there. And then I've got this piece of blank receipt which I've stapled together as writing paper. And then nothing in the bottom pocket, so lots and lots of room in there, lots of room for growth. And then it just closes off like that. So that is it. Very, very simple, but I love it as a little writing journal. If you were good, not like me, you could make this in a day. I love those kits, so much potential. You could do so much in this to embellish as well. I'm going to have fun with this, stamping away and writing in it and sticking stuff in it, and I'll probably revisit this and make a whole lot more like it in the future, I reckon. So I hope you enjoyed that, something a little different. Thank you so much to the lovely ladies at Whichcraft Do You Do, and shout out to Renee for the inspiration. Yeah, really love this kit, as I love all of them. So take care of yourselves, be good, and I will see you again soon. Bye.